Georgia cotton growers are currently spending in excess of $110 million per year in the management of glyphosate-resistant Palmer amaranth. Herbicides continue to be the first line of defense for cotton growers. However, overuse of herbicides such as Reflex, Valor, and Liberty may lead to additional herbicide resistance in Palmer amaranth and will further challenge the economic sustainability of cotton. Although most herbicide systems can provide greater than 90% control, Palmer amaranth populations are so high across the state that controlling 90% of the emerging population often does not provide adequate control. As a result, over 90% of our growers have resorted to hand weeding, and over the past 2 years, over half the cotton crop has been hand weeded at a cost of $15 million per year. Growers have also pursued other cultural methods to assist in control. For example, land on which the soil has been inverted using tillage or receiving in-row cultivation surpassed 50% of Georgia's 2011 and 2012 crop. Greater costs in labor, fuel, and equipment associated with managing glyphosate-resistant Palmer amaranth have been coupled with increases in herbicide use, hand weeding labor, and the potential for developing additional herbicide resistance. Combined, these efforts have more than tripled the cost of cotton weed management programs since the commercial release of Roundup Ready cotton. Currently, an aggressive weed management program which relies on the use of winter-planted heavy rye cover crop is being developed to improve the long-term economic and environmental sustainability of cotton. The purpose of rye cover crop is to inhibit the establishment of Palmer amaranth. Georgia research has shown that a reduction in Palmer amaranth emergence of 70 to 90% can be achieved by using a heavy rye cover crop system, although results are dependent on the level of rye mulch present. Our efforts have primarily focused on rye because it is relatively easy to grow and has the ability to produce large amounts of biomass with minimum input. Although rye is reported to control small-seeded weeds through allelopathy by releasing chemicals into the soil, our research indicates that mature rye does not appear to possess sufficient allelochemicals necessary for the inhibition of Palmer amaranth germination. We believe that the primary benefit of the rye results simply from a physical suppression or a mulching effect. Any other cover crop that produces levels of biomass similar to rye and has similar persistence through the summer should be equally effective in suppressing Palmer amaranth emergence. However, we must mention that the use of ryegrass is strongly discouraged due to the potential for this plant to develop resistance to various herbicides. Ryegrass is believed to be an even greater risk for the development of herbicide resistance than Palmer amaranth. In order to effectively suppress Palmer amaranth germination and emergence, it is critical that growers generate enough cover crop biomass prior to terminating the rye and planting cotton. Rye and cotton planting date, rye seeding rate, fertilization, and rye termination date play key roles in successful production of a rye cover crop. It is important that growers understand that rolling rye to form a horizontal mulch is critical for successful management of Palmer amaranth. The rolled mulch will also facilitate planting and should serve as a persistent physical barrier to weed emergence throughout the growing season. Our research has generated several critical steps that one must follow for success. First, the goal is to produce a uniform stand of rye that is at least 6.5 feet tall. One misconception is that it is easier to roll and plant into shorter rye rather than taller rye. Rye that has flowered or reached anthesis, especially once pollen shed begins, possesses stems that are brittle and easier to roll and maintain as a horizontal mulch. If possible, allow the rye to produce seed prior to rolling and terminating. This will encourage volunteer rye in the autumn, reducing the amount of additional rye seed needed the following year. Rye must be rolled in the same direction that strip tillage planting process will occur. Additionally, the width of the rolling unit should be the same width as the cotton planter if possible. Spray a burn-down herbicide at the time of rolling. If the grower has generated a successful stand of rye, there will be no pigweed or other problematic weeds present at the time of rolling and rye termination. If rye seed heads are present, gramoxone at half a pint plus Valor plus crop oil, or Roundup WeatherMax/PowerMax at 22 ounces plus Valor should be used. If rye seed heads are not present, Roundup WeatherMax/PowerMax at 32 ounces plus Valor is effective. This will successfully terminate the rye cover crop, and the Valor, one of the most effective residual herbicides, will be sitting on the soil in an area where the rolled mulch was thin or inconsistent. It is the holes in the rye mulch that Palmer amaranth will readily exploit. To mitigate the potential for off-target drift complaints, because boom heights are often held very high above the ground, mount the sprayer on the roller and apply the herbicide at the same time of rolling. Following rolling and burn down, data suggests that growers should have Palmer amaranth-free fields for at least 3 weeks. This practice should alleviate the greatest challenge to managing Palmer amaranth today, and that is planting into fields with emerged weeds. The single greatest limitation to the adoption of a heavy rye production system has been grower concern about achieving a uniform cotton stand. There are several steps to ensure a successful cotton crop. First, growers must understand the relationship between the rye cover crop and soil moisture content. When the rye is alive, moisture is rapidly taken up by the rye and the ground will become very dry. While this will likely inhibit Palmer amaranth germination and emergence, it is not conducive for planting cotton. After the rye has been terminated with herbicides, the rye will no longer remove moisture from the soil. However, a significant rain will be needed to replenish the moisture in the optimal planting zone. Once this moisture has been replenished, it will be preserved by the rye for much longer than it would be in traditional production processes. This will provide for better planting conditions that will persist for a longer period of time. Second, using a strip tillage system with a rubber wheel system, i.e. no coulters or rolling baskets, will reduce the potential for rye binding up on the equipment and causing issues. It is possible to keep the area in which we are planting cotton clean of rye, which should ease planting concerns. For example, growers planting rye with a drill can manipulate the drill process where a small zone is left free of rye, thereby improving bed formation. For growers who do not seed with a grain drill, hoods can be used to achieve the same objective. Once the rye is terminated and the rye is rolled, the rye-free zone becomes evident. Over 32 acres of on-farm research during 2012 showed that a 12-inch zone free of rye was very effective in eliminating planting concerns. A 12-inch rye-free zone is an excellent starting point for the conservative grower. For the most experienced growers, a zone-free rye is not needed. A GPS system and the planter hooked to the strip till apparatus will improve precision and stand establishment. Current Roundup Ready program. The herbicide program will follow that used in a typical reduced tillage production system, except for the need to spray glyphosate plus Valor or paraquat plus Valor while rolling the rye. A pre-emergence herbicide option such as Warrant plus Reflex or Direx plus Reflex would be in order, of course. Don't forget to add in paraquat plus crop oil to assist in controlling emerged weeds. Following the pre-emergence application would be an early post-1 application of Roundup plus Staple, a post-2 application of Roundup plus Dual, and a lay-by application of Direx plus MSMA. If ALS-resistant Palmer amaranth is present or carryover concerns exist, then Staple could be replaced by Warrant at the post-1 application timing. If Morning Glory is present and cotton is large enough, Envoke or a low rate of AIM or ET mixed with Direx plus MSMA at lay-by is in order. Of course, refer to specific herbicide labels for rotational concerns as well as other restrictions and limitations. Roundup Ready program using PPI herbicide applications are in development. This program is similar to the typical Roundup Ready program. It has the same burn down and post herbicide options, although we are developing techniques whereby to incorporate Treflan or Prowl plus Reflex as a banded spray prior to planting. By incorporating a residual herbicide in the strip and having rye in the middles, growers should have an immediate and effective Palmer amaranth control, regardless of whether rainfall is needed to activate the pre-emergence herbicides to occur in a timely manner. The Liberty Link program. The Liberty-based system will follow that of a typical reduced tillage system, except for the need to spray Roundup or Paraquat plus Valor while rolling the rye. A pre-emergence herbicide such as Warrant, Warrant plus Direx, Warrant plus Reflex, or Direx plus Reflex, depending on Palmer amaranth intensity, mixed with Paraquat plus crop oil would be in order, followed by 2 post-applications of Liberty plus Staple, Dual Magnum, or Warrant. Liberty applications must be made before the largest pigweed in the field is 3 inches in height. Direx plus MSMA should be applied at lay-by. If Morning Glory is present and cotton is large enough, Envoke or a low rate of AIM or ET mixed with Direx plus MSMA at lay-by is in order. Do not spray Liberty more than twice during the season, and refer to specific herbicide labels for rotational concerns as well as other restrictions and limitations. Advantages of the system include A. Improved Palmer amaranth control. Integrating a heavy rye cover crop and a sound herbicide program has been consistently more effective than production systems using weedy covers or covers with minimal residue. B. Minimizing the potential for more herbicide resistance. Because many types of herbicide chemistries are being overused, the sustainability of cotton production using the current herbicide tools is in jeopardy. Reducing the number of Palmer amaranth plants that emerge during a season by a heavy rye mulch will greatly reduce selection pressure for the development of additional resistance. C. Labor. With the heavy rye system, growers should be able to return to reduced tillage, thereby reducing labor, fuel, and equipment expenses. Additionally, the need for hand weeding should be reduced, not eliminated, but reduced. D. Erosion. Undoubtedly, the movement away from reduced tillage over the past 5 years has increased both soil and wind erosion across Georgia. The heavy rye reduced tillage system would be the most favorable program available to greatly reduce or even eliminate erosion. E. Prevents or lessens potential for impacts from glyphosate-resistant horseweed and ryegrass. Horseweed and ryegrass resistant to Roundup are present in the cotton belt. Both are costly to manage. Growers adopting heavy rye cover crop systems prior to the arrival of these weeds would greatly delay and maybe even eliminate their ability to become established. F. Moisture conservation. Research during 2013 will be conducted to determine what impact this type of mulch system is having on water availability to the crop. Anecdotally, it seems likely that the rye mulch system will not only allow for more water to be available for the crop in dryland production, but it will also likely reduce the need for irrigation. G. Reduces thrips issues. University of Georgia entomologists have shown a significant reduction of thrips damage to cotton when using a heavy rye cover. Although thrips infestations are reduced when a heavy rye cover is used, this does not preclude the use of an at-plant systemic insecticide for thrips control. H. EPA regulations. As government regulations continue to become more aggressive, we must better understand the relationship between pesticides and our environment. It will be critical that pesticides remain in the field in which they are intended. Movement into non-target areas such as waterways, streams, lakes, woodlands will not be tolerated. Data have already been generated showing how a rye mulch can greatly reduce or even eliminate the movement of pesticides from the treated field area. Disadvantages of the rye system include A. Grower comfort. It is clear, based on surveys, that growers are uncomfortable with high residue rye cover crops and do not believe they can effectively manage the system. As is the case with all new practices, it is best to start off with a limited number of acres. Many growers will be surprised at how easy this system is to manage and will note that it can provide greater production flexibility than most other practices. B. Time to get the rye established. Having large rye present at time of termination is critical. Therefore, getting the rye established as soon as possible in the fall is a necessity. New technology, such as the cotton pickers that bale the cotton on the go, will hopefully improve grower harvest efficiency and allow rye to be planted in a timely fashion. C. Increased fertility. The rye cover crop system will require more nitrogen fertilizer if you have been in conservation tillage for 5 years or less. Additional nitrogen will likely be needed in many fields to achieve enough rye biomass, plus additional nitrogen fertilizer, approximately 20% more, will need to be applied at cotton planting to secure rapidly growing young cotton. Once you have been in conservation tillage for 5 years or more, the organic matter in the surface soil should build up enough to compensate for the potential of the tie-up or immobilization of nitrogen by the heavy residue. D. Strip tillage unit. Although growers are innovative in equipment development, research has shown the rubber wheel strip till system is the most forgiving and effective unit. Therefore, some growers will need to make changes to their current equipment. E. Roller. A roller must be built or purchased for the system to be successful. Ideally, the width of the roller should be the same as the width of the strip till and planting implement. F. Cooler soils. With early spring cotton plantings, soils will likely be cooler relative to conventionally prepared ground, and growers must take soil temperatures into account when determining a planting date.